Hey, everybody. Welcome to another opportunity to get a little peek inside what happens in the Content and Connection Club. I've got with me James Boggie, who is a fellow Zoom producer. Someone I've actually had the pleasure of training on how to do that, and I've been supporting him. He's also building out a whole business around this. So, James, welcome, and I'm so thrilled that you're here to talk about this.
Thank you for having me. I love the club. I like the opportunity to talk about it and share with more people. The more the merrier.
Brilliant. Excellent. So you and I actually have a long history together that predates the pandemic. You and I first met, I said yes to hosting an unconference. So those of you who don't know, that's where you do all the logistics, but you don't pick out the program, the content until the morning of, which is its own fun challenge. And James, you were part of that experience, one of the volunteers who stepped up. That is going back a long time, a decade, probably close
Yes,
to
I
it.
think it was 2013.
Yeah.
Because you did Roast Camp MA in 2013 and 2015.
That's right. But then how did you hear about No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hours that I started hosting in early March 2020?
So we've been connected for a long time. After Roots Camp MA, I was part of SoJust, which
Yeah.
I think I just got the pun. Robbie is all about puns and dad jokes, so
Yep.
be warned. So I was connected to on Facebook and LinkedIn, and when you put that out, I was working as an in-person event coordinator, and suddenly I was, at home. Is my job gonna last? And suddenly there's all this virtual stuff going on, and No More Bad Zoom is one of the places to go to learn how to handle that, to experiment, to ask your questions, to get familiar with this new tech and these new formats that we have available. So I got into No More Bad Zoom, and that was weekly. And then I decided to go into the certification program because I had groups I'm connected to, like Partnership for Historic Bostons and BossCone, that had to do virtual events, things they had been used to for years being in person. Suddenly I had to go online, and it seemed like it was a good idea to go through this training, even if it was just to help the people in my community I cared about.
Yeah. So you went through the 5% Advantage program. You became a certified virtual event professional, hashtag No More Bad Zoom. And I've also subcontracted work to you when supporting some of my event clients, which has definitely helped my business grow, knowing I can always say yes, even if I'm not available. I have bench strength. I have folks I can lean into. So I really appreciate you and others for being there for me. Then as you started to get into this, it became more and more of a business plan for you. I hosted, as you mentioned, No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour for actually a little over 2.5 years weekly. And I guess about 7 or so months ago, I switched to once a month hosting a free virtual happy hour. And so I actually wanted to, let's see, where are my banners? All right. So this is the free once a month No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour link. So anyone can come to this. We have guest speakers on anything around networking, Zoom tips, business strategies, etc. But then at some point, you learned about the Content and Connection Club because you were already part of that. What made you to think this is right for me? I want to be part of this community.
So I saw content and connection as a way to, keep connected to all of the learning resources and the people I've been relying on to maintain my knowledge and skills. I will say it's good to be in a group that really likes to play and experiment, like Robbie and Christopher, another person who's gone through the program. I am not so much, I don't have so much fun experimenting. So it's good to be with people like that and then there's all sorts of people who come in and ask questions. And I don't see a lot of spaces like that online anymore. I see a lot of spaces where people think we already know everything. We've been doing this for 2 years. And I definitely don't agree. I think there's a lot of opportunities to explore and a lot of, tools and resources and uh, routines and best practices to build out. And I think this club is one of the places that's happening.
Yeah, as you mentioned, so Christopher Johnson, also a fellow certified Zoom producer that we get to work with our event clients. Yeah, he and I do enjoy trying out all the new Zoom
Mhm.
features that are coming out. I was just reading about the latest updates. I was just on a call actually with folks from Zoom talking about what's coming out now and also in the first quarter of next year. There's a lot of changes ahead. I think some of them are going to be really helpful. But you got to. There's a growing edge, right? It's always something new
Mhm.
as Zoom keeps. The Zoom we have in March 2023 is nothing like the Zoom we had in March 2020. But for most people, their skills, their proficiency, their Zoom settings even like kind of got stuck in 2020 at a certain level, and they didn't try to rise above. And you're
Mhm.
one of the people who's interested in those conversations about how do we improve this experience, both the technical piece but also the participant experience as
Mhm.
well. So yeah, it makes sense that you'd want to continue hanging out in this community. Is there one particular piece of advice or a lesson or a learning or a takeaway that you got from either being in the mastermind Friday calls or maybe from a one-on-one conversation you had with one of the members?
So I do want to go back and hammer on that point a little bit.
Sure,
Um,
please.
there are a lot of people who may not consider themselves professional speakers or event professionals. This isn't their passion. And I think it's still very good idea to try to keep up on what's happening with Zoom, because if you're running meetings for your company or your business, or you have to get up and speak, you don't want to find yourself in a position where something has changed and everybody else knows about it and not you. Those sorts of moments really cut into your credibility.
Mm,
And I, a lot of those people, if you're like me, you don't have fun. You want to be good at it, but you don't have fun testing it all out on your own. And I think this club is that is worth the price of admission. Avoiding those moments or being able to step into moments where you're able to solve the problem nobody else knows, or you're able to use the feature nobody else has seen before. I think that's worth price of admission. Um, there have been a lot of things. One of the things I was really excited about recently was the update that allows you to delete messages in Zoom chat. Um,
mm-hmm.
I've said before that Zoom was created with internal meetings in mind primarily. So while it changed a lot, uh, it still has some of that architecture. And this was really necessary in order to make it a good platform for external events. Now, if someone comes in and drops something unpleasant in chat, you can delete it. And I might not have noticed that until I needed that feature. That's the kind of feature that
Yeah.
make or break for an experience if you need it. And if I hadn't been at there on that Friday, who knows when I would have figured it out.
That is one of my favorite recent updates. I mean, like the fact that they have so many emojis to choose from is fine, but the ability to delete a chat message, either, I mean, it could be because someone posted something obnoxious, but I've also made mistakes copy pasting, hitting enter too fast, and grab the wrong information. Or I'm sure some people here have had the experience of posting something in chat that you thought was to one person in particular, but accidentally went to everyone. Wouldn't it be nice if you could like hit the delete button immediately and just erase them from everyone's mind? Nothing to see here, folks. So yeah, that's one of those features that sort of snuck in, and if you didn't know to look for it, you wouldn't know it was there. Even if you needed it, you may not know like to look for it and that it was there. So I love that we get to sort of explore these things, and there's enough people in the room who are knowledgeable, but there are also a lot of people who are coming in who are just looking for opportunities to use it themselves. Like they're not trying to be experts at Zoom. They may or may not be professional speakers, but they all do speak or present or conduct meetings. And so, yeah, the Zoom platform is really important. I want to take a moment and actually talk about,
One
because
thing
you mentioned, oh, go ahead, James.
I was going to say, to
Yeah.
clarify, I believe that's only for hosts and co-hosts, right?
No, each
Oh,
individual person can delete their own message.
okay.
Yeah, so they
A
can't
lot
delete
of
anyone else's message. Hosts and co-hosts can delete any message, but the person writing it can delete their own message.
So a lot of platforms, that's feature platforms go in different directions. I think it's usually depending on how many children they think are going to be using the platform, because one of the places that could be abused is if somebody says something bullying or abusive and then
Mm-hmm.
deletes it so that the person that's targeted doesn't get can't show that to someone and get help.
Good point.
So that's I wanted clarification, because some platforms I think rightfully only let the host delete, or the admin or whoever has that authority.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. There is a way to enable or disable this. It's called an enhanced chat experience, and it's something you have to turn on in the Zoom.us settings. So if you are working in a maybe an elementary school or K through 12 experience, then you don't have to enable it because you don't necessarily want to delete anything. But if you're working with professionals, it's a nice option to have. Unfortunately, right now they don't distinguish between only having the setting for hosts and co-hosts versus for everybody. But perhaps that's coming in the future because they're clearly tweaking all the time. So I
I
wanted
do
to
want to
share
point out.
about the club experience, just to make sure, because some people listening in may not know. There's actually sort of three components to the club. One is there's lots of content. So I have like 70 plus Zoom tutorial videos that you get access to immediately, all organized by different categories. I have 8 videos just on breakout rooms. I've got videos on online facilitation, that kind of thing. And then there's the online forum, which is generally kind of quiet, but there are opportunities to share wins, to share accountability posts, like here's what I'm going to be working on this week. I got it done or didn't get it done. And to write also your introduction in the form of what would be a great referral for you, so that we get to understand for each person, like who to refer work to them. But probably the most popular feature, and the one that really makes this incredibly worthwhile, is that every single Friday there is an opportunity to gather. Now, the first Friday of the month is the free No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour. And all the other Fridays, it's really structured more like a mastermind where we have 8 to 12 people, usually, maybe up to 20. And I share a little bit about something behind the scenes of my business. We have a chance to get into breakout rooms and share all of our wins from the past week, personal, professional wins. And then we come back, and then people get to raise their hand and ask questions on anything around business strategy. It could be book launches or podcasts, or getting a podcast created. It could be sales funnels, or sales conversations, or networking, and of course anything related to using Zoom. And it's $25 a month, and I think people are surprised by that amount. And in a moment, we'll talk about why it's not 10 times that, even though it clearly could be. So James, I was about to shift to the next question, but it seemed like you might have something you wanted to add.
Well, thank you. One of the things I went off on that tangent about why certain platforms do or do not allow that feature for everyone, or just people with admin controls. I want to point out one of the good things about this club that you're not going to get from like tutorials online, or I think one of the most important things is why you would use a tool, not just how you would use it. And I think I enjoy the conversations where we talk about use cases, and we talk about how you go from your purpose of your event to figuring out which features to use when, and that sort of logic. And that's stuff that you either have a group like this that you talk it out with, or you have to do trial and error yourself. And again, there are a lot of people who rightfully do not enjoy doing the trial and error on their own. I think this is a great group for them.
What a great point, because that's one of the things I'm such a proponent of, is sort of not just the how, but why for each thing that we do. Don't just say, oh, I just learned about this new feature and therefore we're going to use it. How does it actually help your participants get to the outcomes or the goals, the objectives that they have in mind, or that you have in mind for them? So you've had a chance to be with lots of people. You've met a lot of people. I'm curious, like, what's coming up for you in your business? What are you going to be building towards in the next year? Because we're obviously right on the cusp of a new year, so we're all looking ahead.
So I am looking at a lot of what I've done this year is getting into networking and talking to people and kind of reprogramming, because I know I can do the work, but the entrepreneurial side is a whole entirely different beast. Um, I am excited to, I'm working on what I'm looking for from a business coach, and I'm looking in January to start a business coaching relationship, because I think if you're, I know what I want to do, and I know there's value, and I know it's worth investing in, because all of these opportunities, and I know most of the people I meet say I've never even thought that this is something somebody could might hire somebody for, but now I'm going to think about it, or now I can see friends that or colleagues that maybe need this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think business coach is where I start with sorting out all of the many things you need to work on as an entrepreneur into a sequence. Um, I'm also looking at, I've have some interesting referrals. I've met someone whose friend is getting out of virtual conference business, not because she doesn't have clients, but because she wants to focus on something else, which is
Mm-hmm.
a great lesson for entrepreneurs. Don't chase clients, chase the work and the focus you want to have, and good clients will come. So I'm looking to, after the holidays, talk to that person and see if we can maybe work together. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so that'd be great. I'm also looking at, I'm trying to find, I'm looking at the industry, because we're still very early on. We're still at a chance where we can establish that value proposition for people who never realized they had I think it's the big P problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm looking at where where the niche is. I definitely want to be someone who finds a niche, and then I can invest my spare time into learning specifically what's useful for those people and developing those skills and moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's so many ways to go with the new virtual experiences and connections. I'm excited that now we have these options that weren't as robust before the pandemic.
Yeah, you're talking about some of the stuff from little P and big P. It's from my
Yes.
second book, Small List, Big Results.
Mhm.
Launch a successful offer no matter the size of your email list, and
Mhm.
a lot of great resources in that book. I also saw that there was a shout out in the comments to Christopher. So Christopher
Okay.
is an incredible human who is well versed in online events. Says Pay Robbins, Pay being my longtime assistant. Almost 3 years now we've been working together. So yeah, thanks Pay for checking in and sharing that. And also I see she's been sharing links for No More Bad Zoom in the comments, and of course you folks can go to contentandconnectionclub.com. I can imagine, based on everything you're describing, that there's a lot of ways that you could get support from the club. Again, $25 a month to get access to a mastermind, the content. Is there something in particular that you think is going to be helpful as you grow your business and get started in this particular path?
I will say I appreciate that this is a group uh, with people who are could be considered competitors, but we have the abundance mindset, and
Mm,
I appreciate that we more more interested in learning together than in protecting our secrets in our way. I think there's a lot of room in the pool. Um, I'm one thing I am interested in, and I would like to bring into the group is, like I said, we're all busy, but I think we all have time to go to one or two events, maybe one or two events a week, or one or two events every other week. I would like to be talking to people a little more about the events they're part of, or the events they see and what we learn from, because like we literally have thousands of years talking about in-person events. Like all the rhetoric talk in Greece is about how you give a good speech, and that's still relevant. We have, maybe if you're generous, 10 years talking about virtual experiences, and most of that is in the last 2 years. So I still think um, it I would be very interested in hearing the successes or the features people are seeing other people experiment with. um, yeah,
I
I
think
can't be everywhere, but we can learn together.
I think a bloopers section might be fun too.
It's got to be well natured. Like I was at an event. I was at a webinar recently with someone who clearly knew what she was talking about. Her slide deck made sense. The topic was valuable, but she was struggling with the Zoom interface, and I got really in between her and attendees who clearly really wanted what she was talking about. And I followed up, and I'm hoping she got back to me today, and I'm hoping to talk, even if, you know, that's one of the things I get excited about, is making sure this is a platform that should be helping you connect to people.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a little bit of help to make sure that it's working with you and not against you.
I totally agree. It should not be a barrier. It should, if anything, be sort of aiding in your ability to communicate with your audience, not be a barrier to doing that. So, James, thanks for sharing. I'm excited. Next week we're gonna get together as a club on almost the last day of the year and do some end of year celebrating. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I know we're gonna have a lot of fun as club members going into the next year. Folks who are listening in, as we close out here, I'll put up a slide just so you can see that you get a lot of opportunities in this community, and it's all $25 a month, and half that money goes to Feeding America. This is not a way I make my money. This is my give back to a community that has helped me realize that this was a business at all. Like, I didn't know that producing Zoom events and doing strategy for Zoom events was going to be a living. And this is the community that helped me figure that out back in 2020. So this is my give back. I love coaching. Occasionally people turn into clients, which is wonderful. And I'm able to give back to Feeding America, which is one of my biggest clients. And I love the work they do with food banks all across the United States. So James, thanks so much for being here. And with that, I think we're gonna say goodbye to our audience. Cheers, everyone.